Hey buddy! So this is Luna Rosette 15 here, and I'm going to be doing a new series called Horsey Thoughts, where I talk about horse-related media, usually books and magazines, magazine series, all that kind of stuff. I'll be doing nonfiction because it's a little bit easier to talk about and is a little bit shorter to read. So my first thing that I've decided to do today is a yearly series by horsechannel.com, and I think it is a very good guide, and it is something that horse people need to pick up if they're just figuring this out. But anyway, let's begin. So today's magazine is Your New Horse, not mine. Your New Horse. So pretty much what it is it's a magazine kind of type deal that you'll see that's kind of like those books that you'll get that say new care guide for youngsters or whatever, those type of magazines, or are like the sections they have in things like the Horse Bible that are like that. So pretty much this is kind of one of those kind of horse care, first time horse owner books in a little magazine form. So it's a little bit more convenient. Even though it just looks like a standard magazine, it is actually 128 pages in its entirety, so it is a little bit thicker than most magazines, but is very short compared to most books, which can usually range from 200 to 500 pages. That's usually what I see. And the books that are 100 pages are just, I'm sorry, they're not worth your time, because the books, if they're 100 pages, they're usually pretty expensive, and 100 pages does not sum up everything you need to know. And that's one of the issues I have with this, but we'll get into that when it comes up. So firstly, I want to talk about the good pictures that they have. They have a lot of nice pictures, and they have a lot of pictures that illustrate stuff or help make their point, which I really like. And they have a pretty cover, like they always will, with Horse Illustrated and Horse and Rider, and they show all the pretty pictures and pretty horse riders and all that stuff. And I think that's pretty cool because it takes a lot of time to get all these images and compile them all together, so I applaud you for doing that. So anyway, let's begin. So first, in both of my things, the first thing is about the breeds of the horses, because first thing you gotta do is decide, okay, do I want to breed a horse? What kind of horse do I want? Or what horse do I want? So I'm going to be talking about, I only have the 2014 and the 2015. So I'm only going to be talking about those two. Now in the 2014, they did a very sloppy job. Yes, they have this little IQ, and it's very cute. And I mean, I think it's cute, especially if you're learning, and it, kind of helps you, say, oh, okay, do I know anything? And it's cute. I think it's pretty cute. It's like, what you'd find in like little horse girl magazines. So I think it's kind of cute. But then they get to the actual breeds and they fall flat on their face that year in 2014, because the only thing they did was have 7 reasons why that horse should be it. Not, the goods, the bads, or the stats, or whatever. And they have it for quarter horses, gypsy banners, Arabians, BLMs, Appaloosas, and that's it. So not exactly widening the spectrum, and it really screams lazy to me, because especially for the Arabians, I mean, some of them aren't bad, but the Arabians, one of them is, the Arabians aren't terrible, but you take pride in riding the oldest and most beautiful purebred breed of horse. So I don't really like that. I think it's very materialistic and not very fitting of the breed. I think they should do more justice to the breed as well as the reader. So, and then I don't really like this. Appaloosas are the poorest for me. Appaloosas are as unique as you. That is literally one of the 7 points. They could not come up with a better 7. So I'm just saying, I think that could have been much better. But I do like how it has the actual breed organization or association right down here, so that you can like, you know, see what it is, contact them, see what they're kind of, what they advertise, that kind of stuff, which is nice. But I have to just say they fail at this one. So then I'm going to go to the 2015, which is a much better job. It has a little snippet about each breed. This one's about Arabians, and then it has testimonies. You know, testimonies from people who actually have these breeds and talk what they like about them. Now, the testimonials are kind of, I don't know, I personally think they're a little bit, they don't really do much to explain the breed. Some of them don't do much to explain the breed. So, and you know, some of them are just kind of short and not the most impressive, but they have many more horses. They even have the miniature horses, which is nice because miniature horses are almost always forgotten about because they are small and really can only do a few things. They're not very useful and compared to other types of horses, which can do a bunch. And then they even have like rare breeds like curlies, which you do not see. They're called curlies because they have this really swirly and like pretty cute coat, which is, you know. Then they have fjords and Frisians, and I'm probably not saying that right, Appaloosas, American Paints, all that. And then they do have the little thing in the back, which, you know, is a good side note, but it's not a good main point. That's just what I'm saying. Okay, so moving on, because we're already at the 5-minute mark. Then they go into shopping for the horses. So let me look at that. So then this one talks about, you know, what to do, and both of them talk about what to do when you're shopping, but savvy shoppers. So this one is much more complete. The 2014 edition is much more complete. And what I mean by that is it talks about everything you need to know. It talks about tips for people. It talks about where and where not to go. It talks about, you know, the benefits of some places, and if you're looking for a specific thing, and then the pre-purchase exams and price negotiation. Now, the 2015 edition I still like fairly well, but it isn't as in-depth. It only has 6 things, 6, you know, snippets of advice, which is still pretty good, but it doesn't cover everything. It still kind of leaves a bunch of stuff to be desired. So I really don't like that. But I think it's better. It could be better. So then the next one, they kind of divulge from each other. So this one, so in the 2014, the next one is budgeting. Is equine economics. It's budgeting with the horses. So it talks about all the budgets and, you know, what, and all the expenses. And I really like that it has this. It has a little table that you can use to actually budget it and put it together. And they actually have a site on horsechannel.com. They actually have a calculator like this online. I haven't seen it, but it says it in the front, so it would be something that you could also use. So that's a pretty useful tool. And then this one, I don't know if it, just tore it. So I don't know if it, so yeah, it doesn't. So this one talks about leasing, lessons, or owning. So then it talks about the benefits, which is also good, but it is, you know, still a little, I still kind of like the budgeting a little bit better, because if your new horse usually means that you are either leasing or owning a horse, and probably owning if you're looking at this thing and you've gotten that far back. I'm just saying. So that, and if you're already picking this up, you probably already decide you're either going to own or lease. Because lessons really aren't for people who are committing, they're for people who are trying to figure it out. So then the next thing is bonding with the horse. Hold on, let me skip. Okay, so in the 2015 edition, it has you know, exercises to gain trust and training, and, you know, it's talking about, well, it's really kind of just showing ways that you can bond with your horse. Like, it talks about understanding the horse and understanding what you want, like how you can get what you want in a horse. Like, Talks about safety first and being a horse's friend and understanding that leadership and friendship are two different things, and you kind of have to have both if you want to have a good horse. And then this one talks about skills for safe handling. So, it talks about how to lead, which is good, how to tie for people who don't know how or people who are learning. And then it talks about how to walk them through a gate, which, although that may not seem like, to older equestrians, that may not seem like a big deal, it actually is, because people have taken pieces off their horse's hips doing that. So it's good to kind of know that. And then it talks about trailering. And then we go to the bonding. Yes, we go to the bonding. So first we go to the bonding of the 2014 edition. The 2014 edition has the input of 2 experts. Let's see, I think it probably says it in the back. I'm just trying to find their full names. So, okay, here it says, meet the experts. So, one is Kid McNabb, and the other one is Pat Pirelli. Right? Yeah, Pat Pirelli. I forgot his first name there for a second. So, both of them are good. I know Pat Pirelli is really good. I haven't heard much about McNabb, so I don't know. But they both have their own little input, and they have questions that people ask, which is good. They have questions, and they'll kind of answer it. Wait, is that one? This one? Yeah. And then they also have kind of some ground exercises, which are also good. I think that's really good. So then in this one is from Julia Goodnight, which is also really good. She has her own TV show on RFD. And she has her own little thing. It's talking about leading, and it also has some activities, although this one doesn't have the frequently answered questions, like, the questions that people asked questions, so it doesn't have all that in there, and then it had and then I'm just going to kind of summarize the last two, because, the last kind of parts are about, the first one is about pretty much both of them are about spending time in the saddle and learning about that. And then, it has list activities that you can do and all that. It does a pretty fair job of it. And then the next one is equipment. Now this one has the big old long picture with a description, which is nice. I think that's pretty good, and it has it for Western too. I'm not sure if they're the exact same image. No, they're not. This one is a saddle fit, more or less. This is more of a saddle fit. And then it talks about other things, shopping tips, all kinds of stuff like that. And then they have boarding, like talking about, okay, do you take your horse home? Or where do you take your horse, all that kind of stuff. So, and then they have grooming tips and all kinds of stuff for this one. 7 grooming secrets. This is pretty good. I've used a couple of them on my own horse, and they work pretty well. And then the last one is cut your vet costs. These are tips for cutting vet costs. Duh. And it talks about things that you can do to do it at home and not having to do it somewhere else. So then this one talks about saddle fitting, which both for English and Western, which is nice. Then this one also talks about housing for horses. And then this one is more about keeping at home. And then this one is a little bit shorter. It's much shorter than the other one, I think. A little bit shorter. It's only 3 pages. Yeah, it might be a little bit shorter, but they both do this. And then this one's the grooming challenge. It talks about grooming and things you can do to fix the groom. Fix your horse's messes, and then, and then vet costs again, because vet costs are a very important thing. So here's what I think of it. I'm going to now talk about what I think of it as a whole. Both of these are very good pickup guides. Like, if you're walking through a store and you don't want to pay $20 for a horse owning book, because most equestrians, either younger equestrians or older equestrians that are coming back, or older equestrians who are just getting into it, they kind of like to pick up a book and read it. Especially little kids like to read it for the pictures and whatnot. But it's usually like $20 per book, and you know, then you kind of have the one book, and it's pretty much stilted information. Whatever is in whatever year it was printed, it doesn't change from that. And then these ones are much more convenient because they're only $8, at least like $8 is the retail price, which is nice. Yeah, it's $8 in US and Canada, so, and sometimes that'll vary, but it's $8. So I think that this is a very good series. But the thing I have to fault it for is it is only 128 pages, so it does have much less time to actually explore these things in depth. And it also, I think that together that if you have like multiple versions of them, they're a great thing. But if you only have one and it's the only one you ever get, then you're not going to really learn that much, which I think is part of the reason that they put these out yearly, because then people come back to them. So, very good. I like them. I say 4 out of 5. I think that I'm really disappointed in the breed thing that they did that year. They did for 2014, but 2015 they brought it back. But they also they still need to work on their breeds. I think otherwise they did a great job. They need to work a little bit on consistency and not always saying the same thing, but also kind of bringing everything back together, not just, oh yeah, this one has this one has that, because this one talks about, one of these ones talks about saddle fitting, and the other one talks about equipment, specific equipment, like with each type of rider and all that. So it's a little bit different, and I would have liked it to be a little bit more together, but that's probably why but then they get more subscriptions that way, because then people want to learn more. So, good magazines. I suggest people get them. Even older equestrians will find something to like from them. I have, and they're a very good read. I think that they're cute, and they're very helpful to new equestrians and people who just want a refresher. So I recommend them. They are a little bit cheaper, and they're also a little bit more of a reference guide than the big old books. So that's all I've got to say, and hope to see you next time.